Somebody told me you was beating up Bivol.
Yeah, I almost dropped him. There was a lot of people there seeing sparring.
Bivol trains in our gym, by the way.
Does he really?
Churchill boxing. In our gym, David Benavidez was sparring Bivol. Bivol caught him and dropped him with the jab in sparring.
And there is a witness, Peter Burg, actor, Flatliners, Great White Hype, director, various projects, has witnessed that in his gym, Dmitry Bivol and David Benavidez was sparring, and Dmitry Bivol was dropped from a jab. Now, as you guys can see, two different takes where David is basically becoming a Martin McCauley in retrospect, like, oh yeah, I've done this to this guy and he knows what I can do. And I did this and, and I did that to this guy here, just like Martin McCauley. But then yet, no one says anything but you, but an eyewitness now is saying that you got dropped by a jab in sparring to Dmitry Bivol, and you believe that, contrary to whatever everybody believes of what you've been saying, you got dropped by a jab. Now, here's my thing. First of all, it's sparring. Sparring is probably more time of action and physicality than a fight is. A fight is nothing but 4, 6, 8, 10, or 12 rounds, right? That's a fight. No contact. Full contact, no protection. And sparring, of course, you have headgear on some of the times, I guess, but you take more damage in sparring. What a lot of people don't tell you in sparring is you may spar hundreds of rounds with a particular fighter, and you get very familiar with that fighter. And it's a numbers game. It could be out of 50 rounds you've sparred with someone, you might have won 30. They might have won 20 if it was on a judging scale. So that being said, to clear up all the bullshit about, oh man, I did this to a person in sparring. Well, here's the thing. You can take a 20-second clip of you getting the best of someone in sparring. Just 20 seconds, which in our mindset with our low attention span is a very long time, right? Especially when fighting, because a real fight only lasts, about 30 seconds, if that, right? So if you see someone say and claim, like, listen, I gave this dude the business. Let me show you what I did. And they pull this up for 20 seconds, and this dude is and he's getting into this dude's shit, and he's really giving it to him. And, and the guy's taking punishment for these 15, 16, 17, 18 seconds, right? And you're looking at it and you're like, wow, man, he's really tearing his ass up. But then yet it stops. And then that perception of what you just saw becomes reality. Okay? That's how it is. That's how it goes when you're dealing with sparring or context, right? Because that's all that is. And then that context becomes truth, because then you assume that he did that throughout this whole time. First of all, if you did and you gave someone that type of ass whooping, he got to be one tough mother sucker, because people get hurt, people get injured, people get knocked out in sparring all the time. So it does not exclude you from going down or being hurt or getting knocked out. So when you see something like that and you hear someone say, hey, man, I got the better of this dude, I whooped this dude's ass, I got some footage. You just got some footage of your highlight reel. You didn't get the footage of the whole thing. Here's the thing about sparring. If you want to say you beat someone up in sparring, you then have to have proof. From now on, you have to have proof that you did this same shit that you're claiming, that you're showing for 20 seconds throughout that whole session. And it's a long, tedious process, because you're watching rounds after rounds of sparring between two people. You know what I mean? Like, certain things are not even recorded. Some are, but then some of them are not. They're just raw physicalities in practice and training between two people that are preparing for a fight that will be televised and will be seen and will be shown. Okay, now I'm saying all this to clear up the BS and the reality of what sparring really is. So, saying all that, we've heard David say, man, I've got the better of him in sparring. And then we've heard Dmitry Bivol finally respond to it, saying like, well, yeah, he gave me some good rounds in sparring and, and I gave him some good rounds in sparring. But at no time did Dmitry Bivol ever come out and say something out of line or extraordinary, like, hey, I did this to David Benavidez. I really took him out and I really beat his ass. And he didn't do that. But that's what you're supposed to have. And that's the behavior, that's the way you're supposed to answer questions like that. Okay. That's how you behave. And that's how you respond when it comes to those particular sessions. That's the right way to do. That's the proper way to do it. Okay. And David, however, I think because he said, oh, well, I did this to Bivol, it sticks out because now the irony is you said you did that to Dmitry Bivol, but then Dmitry didn't have to say anything at all. Someone else did, Peter Burg. So he's saying he saw you, not Dmitry, not his team, not his side, not, nothing like that, but someone that owned the gym said you were dropped by Dmitry Bivol. Well, what does it mean? Nothing really, but it makes you wonder, okay, if you said you did all of this to Dmitry Bivol, why did you leave out the part where Dmitry Bivol dropped you? You know what I mean? Like, why would you now leave that out? I think that's kind of strange. That's real strange because now it makes you look like a liar, David. It makes you look like someone that's leaving out shit. But that's exactly what people do when they talk about certain times or segments when they had the better and not talk about the full experience of sparring that particular fighter, since we're talking about sparring. Okay, so I think it sounds and feels weird when you hear someone brag about what they've done in sparring, but then leave out shit like that. So now if you look at everything now, if you put in things that actually happen in reality that you could see, we've seen David Benavidez leave before the fight even started. So that tells us he had no intentions on fighting the winner out of Beterbiev nor Bivol. And I think at this point, we've heard and we've seen David Benavidez put so much energy into Canelo Alvarez to the point it's like, okay, now I get it. It's fair to say that David Benavidez was looking for clout. He was looking for clout. He was looking to big up or to speak up Canelo Alvarez's name, similar to what Deontay Wilder did to Anthony Joshua, and that's what got him where he was. Needless to say, it wasn't as successful as Wilder, but it's the same ballpark because he's doing the same shit because he's with the same people. See, he talked about how Canelo didn't want to fight him. And for a while, everybody was like, you know what? He does have a good point because they're in the same weight class. And, he's an undefeated fighter. He's also a Mexican fighter. So why doesn't Canelo Alvarez want to fight him? So he had a good claim going, just like Deontay Wilder did. But then now you're seeing when push came to shove, when DAZN offered Deontay Wilder $100 million for a couple fights on DAZN, and they flew David Benavidez over there to see and to call out the winner or as an interest in fighting the winner of this fight, the undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world, the weight class that he's fighting at right now, he bails. So don't you see, these guys are show and tell. They're talking a lot, but they're not showing you anything. That's what I'm seeing. So from you hearing Peter Burg now saying one of his truths of what he saw in sparring between Dmitry Bivol and David Benavidez, and you put that together, what happened this past weekend, or should I say what didn't happen this past weekend, you start to think like, well, maybe David is possibly full of shit. But you guys tell me what you think of Peter Burg stating that he's seen David and witnessed David being dropped by Dmitry Bivol in sparring. This is another edition of Sparring Wars, volume whatever. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch.